Greetings. Again, my name is Jesse. That's the name I said I will stick to on any future media. Today's subject is, well, sort of a dual subject. Uh, I have labeled it emotions, but I can't speak about emotions without first talking about um, relaxation. And hold on. There's always got to be problems. That's okay. Well, bear with me. System is recording. I just moved something and now I just gotta fix it. So let me just give a little orientation here in case you have never come across one of my videos. I received a Bachelor's of Psychology in 2005, Bachelor's of Science, studied psychology, minored in science from Liberty University in 2005, May of 2005. Well, psychology has always fascinated me, the human experience, not only how we think and feel, but how we act as members of a group. A lot of when I started writing, I didn't used to do videos. Well, I did some videos, but when I started writing, and all you're going to hear is a voice right now because of, excuse me, oh, of technical difficulties, which I'm working on as soon. You know what? I can, if this doesn't work, I just got an idea. Okay, so um, through this course of studying psychology, almost a lifetime of studying psychology, um, was a great student, been through marriages, so it took a little bit longer than the traditional course. But I did develop some conclusions about human psychology and about what our environment is doing to us. Um, so I feel, and I know I have something to offer because we, as individuals, are people who are literally harming ourselves. The pain and suffering that we're going through is mostly due to the way we think, how we perceive things, and how we put things in order in our own mind. Now, I'm going to tell you that there are people who you would like to help, but maybe there's no help for. Um, Again, I apologize because the more I talk, the more I cough. But I was going to say, the environment has a way of making some very ugly, sick people. And you can try to help them, but in reality, there's no benefit for them to be healthy, to be optimistic, to be positive, to be realistic about their life circumstances. I'm going to give you an example, and then I'll get into the subject because, like you, I don't like people saying they're going to talk about a subject and then they talk about something else. And I like to stay focused. But the example I'm going to give you is I had a customer, and from the minute that I encountered the customer, she was distraught. And but I convinced her and got into the taxi and on our way to take her where she's going. And through the phone conversation she was having with a family member or whatever the case may be, it was obvious that it was immigration related and things didn't go the way she expected them to go and the way her husband expected them to go. And one of the common stories here in El Paso, Texas, USA, is a lot of white women who married Mexican men with no papers to be in the country, and then the man is, not exported, deported, excuse me. And at that point, they try to engage the American, um, you know, naturalization office, immigration office, and try to see if something can go, if they can apply for residency or citizenship. And most of the time, it's the same thing. You broke the law. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait 10 years. Even though they take these people's money and they, make them go through the whole uh, medical exam, and at the end they know what answer they're going to give them. They just, I guess, they make them jump through hoops because it makes them feel good. So this person, obviously, her husband was denied re-entry into the country, legal entry into the country. I'm pretty sure he's going to find his way back. I mean, it's usually what happens. But as I'm talking to the person, and I've had this conversation with other customers. I tell them, you sort of can see this. This is what I tell them. You sort of can see this in the negative way, or you can try to find the positive. Now, she's a career professional, and career professionals can more or less find employment anywhere they are. She's a state of Arizona. So Arizona has a border with Mexico. And my suggestion was that, well, you could very easily move down to the border, have your husband live on the Mexican side of the border. You take care of your work responsibilities, your career, and on your off time, you go and live with your husband in Mexico, and then you come back in the morning for work. And it's an adjustment, I remember a movie somewhere that says if you fail to adapt, you fail to survive. And you can say, well, this is our reality. Part of my positive psychology is accepting reality, you know, but accepting it in a good way, not in a bad way. Being grateful for what we have, and being capable of making do with what we have, and in the best attitude, and approaching life with the best attitude that we can possibly approach life. And the person was, interacting in the conversation where it was obvious to me she understood the concepts, and got a little bit of benefit. But in reality, this is one of these people who have been raised in an environment of excuse me, of just distrust government, and hate government, and government just wants to screw you, and other bad, you know, you want to say nasty attitudes. And even though we would want to, you know, help them gain a different perspective in life that would be more healthier. Because honestly, hating people isn't healthy. It's not an enjoyable life when you're hating somebody. But the point being is, this person was just taught to have this nasty bad attitude, and no one's going to talk them out of it. And the admonition is we can choose, to be these type of people, or we can choose a better road. Now, I've always had trouble with this lecture, emotions. I don't know why. Everything else that I can put together, I can put it together, no problem. And I know what I want to say, and I say it. And emotions is just, it's difficult. But I'm going to start at the beginning. Beginning is relaxation exercises. Um, I didn't even draw my emotional cycle, but just imagine a circle, and at the bottom of the circle is when you're more or less mellow. And then moving to my left, could be your left if you're imagining the circle in front of you, is when your emotional energy starts to grow. And at the top of the circle is when it just boils over, and you, for lack of a better term, you bust. And then as you're moving down the right side, you're going through everything that happens after you've done something. Shame, embarrassment, the fear, self-loathing. And then you get back down to the bottom again, bottom of the circle, and you're mellow. And you're going through this cycle continuously. Why are you going through the cycle? Well, let me begin at the beginning. If you're a person of volatile emotions and you want to change, I would suggest that you first try, well, first you're going to have to accept the reality that you have to start thinking in a different way, that your thoughts are contributing to your emotions. And one thing that I do need up here that I didn't put up on my little writing tablet, no, come down here. I'm going to try to include it here while I'm talking to you, and let's see if I can do it correctly, which I don't think I'll be able to because I can never. Aha, good. So, if I may, I say that thoughts, oops, okay, a little arrow, and if I can get an arrow in there, I don't need the dashes. So, thoughts lead to emotions. Excuse me, the more I talk, sometimes the more I cough. And, gotta do this the right way. Okay, lead to emotions, and I have included sensations. I realized it should have been in there. And then, let me see here. Okay, yes, it did it again. Good. Okay, and emotions and sensations lead to behavior, which is important because we're all doing something. So we're at a point in time in our life where we're just frustrated. We just had it. We're always waking up feeling bad. We got this pain and suffering. We don't know where it's coming from. Um, it's just major depression, major fear, anxiety. It just can't think. We don't understand what is going on. Well, when you get to an when you get to this point, what I would suggest is helpful is that you realize that maybe it's your own thoughts that are contributing to your emotions and sensations. And a lot of time, what frustrates us about what we're feeling is the end result. What we do when we go to the bars and overdrink and make a fool of ourselves, or when we fight with somebody at work with no reason whatsoever. So what we're feeling is undesirable, and we don't want to feel it. But we also don't like what we end up doing after the fact. Okay? Oh, come on. Help me here. I was trying to do something and something simple, and just I need clarity. I like clarity. Okay, so here we are. Thoughts, emotions, sensations, and behavior. And I say that the beginning is realizing that we're the ones with the bad attitude. A lot of times we want to point the finger at somebody else. But the reality is, if we're going to find personal health, good health, we're going to find it inside ourselves. I had a conversation with another customer, and she's telling me about the world and how hard the world is, and it's just difficult to maintain a good spirit. And I told her right down, told her very plainly and directly, no, our spirit is internal. Our spirit belongs to us. It doesn't belong to the people who want to harm us. It doesn't want to belong to the people that give us dirty looks, sneer at us, make our life difficult. Our peace is internal, regardless of what's going on in the world. And that'd be a good attitude to adopt. So, you realize that your own thoughts are leading to bad emotions, your own bad thoughts are leading to bad emotions and bad sensations, which consequently lead to bad behaviors. And you want to make a change. You can control your thoughts, but you're still going to have to encounter your emotions because those emotions have been, you know, you've been brainwashed and conditioned for decades, and it's going to be hard to overcome these emotions, you know, in a 24-hour period. But the good thing is that you have that ability because as much as you have bad thoughts, you can have good thoughts, which will lead to good emotions and good sensations, and will consequently lead to good behaviors. And emotional management starts with relaxation. And relaxation, I don't speak that much about it because everybody should know how to relax. Everybody should know how to sit in a quiet room and practicing, breathing exercises. When you breathe in through your yeah, breathing through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Can't believe I forgot that. And also meditation. See, which I should have included right after relaxation is a certain type of meditation. Meditation. Okay, I wasn't corrected, so I guess that's right. And I want to highlight it, because I want it to stand out. And I'll just underline it. There we go. Okay, so relaxation, breathing exercises. And the reason this helps is because emotions have to control the heart rate which controls blood flow, which controls concentration. Too much blood flow, you're going to agitate yourself, and you're going to interfere with your concentration. Too much anxiety, you're not able to concentrate. And the meditation that I'm talking about is when you're doing emotional management, okay, we want to know if what we're feeling is a legitimate emotion. If yesterday the person that you have been, in a romantic relationship, uh, came and told you that it's over, today you may be feeling, fear and sadness. That's a legitimate emotion because something happened that is true, a romantic breakup. So it's legitimate that you feel that way. Um, Not being able to find the source of the emotion is not legitimate. Say, if you're there sitting, say, excuse me, if you're in your living room or wherever you are, and you're know that you're sad, you know that you can be uh, clinically diagnosed with depression, but you don't know the source, it's not legitimate. And the reason that I make the distinction, because legitimate emotions you can deal with. Well, you can deal with both. It's just a different way to deal with it. And a non-legitimate emotion, you have to understand that there's no reason for you to be feeling that way. And that maybe the reason that you're feeling that way is because you are making yourself feel that way. Now, let me, okay, the beginning. And I just put some examples of emotions. And we must understand that we as people, because we are human beings, we have the ability to feel pain. We would like to be happy all the time, but the reality is that being human means that we can experience pain from losing a job, a romantic partner, death of a friend or a family member, any number of what we would label failures or bad things in life. And again, we identify it, we give it meaning. Our culture will call you a failure if you're divorced. Our culture will call you a failure if you're unemployed. Our culture will call you a failure if you don't have a university education. And our culture does such a great job of brainwashing us, of conditioning us to these kind of ideas, that eventually we adapt this negativity and we go into what I call illness, an illness mentality. There's a lot that we can do to avoid being fired. And there may even be a lot that we can do to avoid losing a romantic partner. But there are things that we just don't have any control. And to try to be perfect, to demand that you must meet this so-called social standard, is really counterproductive. It's not real. As a person, when something bad happens, you're going to feel pain. And I keep saying, and I will always keep saying, that the way to deal with that pain is to accept it and to put it in its proper place. You should never tell yourself, because I am depressed, I am a bad person. No, you're just a person who has depression. You should never tell yourself, because I'm an anxious person who always worries, I'm a bad person. You're not a bad person. You're a human being. It is normal to have emotions because we are human beings and human beings have emotions. And the healthy way to deal with it is, one, you have to put it in perspective. Is this a legitimate emotion I'm feeling because there is a real source for it? Or is this a non-legitimate emotion I'm feeling because there isn't a real source for it? Okay? Now, since I like to stay focused, let me see if I've covered what I wanted to cover in my notes. Because we are human, we have the capacity to feel pain. Yes. And I make that point because there are people who don't want to feel the pain, who want to repress the pain, who believe if they just ignore it, it will go away, or if they lock it up in a closet, everything will be fine. That's not a healthy way to deal with emotional pain. Okay? So I've covered that subject. Now, let me see my next note here. There is a healthy way to experience pain. Of course, why would the computer help me? There is a healthy way to experience pain. Okay, let me highlight it, then I'll read it. Accept it, but do not look at yourself as a bad person because you feel pain. That's an important point. That's what society tells you. If you get divorced, you're a failure, you're a bad person. No, for whatever reason you got divorced doesn't make you a bad person. Okay, and because you are feeling sadness or anxious feelings over being separated from a romantic partner, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you're a healthy person because a healthy person has the ability to feel pain. Okay, my next note. We can also think through our emotions by putting our feelings in order. And by this, again, I said we must understand if it's a legitimate emotion or if it's not a legitimate emotion. Okay? Being afraid of the sky falling, that's not legitimate. Being afraid of getting hit by a meteor, that's not legitimate. Okay? It may have, possibility and probability, but realistically, it's not. Um, I was watching a movie yesterday, and I thought it was just a very poignant point about a person who has everything but refuses to enjoy everything they have. Say, just wanting to be depressed just because you believe you should be depressed is not a legitimate emotion. Being depressed because something bad happens, that's legitimate. Believing that you should be depressed just because you believe you should be depressed, that's not a legitimate emotion. Okay? And putting feelings in order. Okay? Not only do we need to understand is it legitimate or non-legitimate, we also need to understand what can we do. Okay? Part of putting our feelings in order is recognizing that with a positive mindset, we will have good emotions. And that's what our goal should be. And with a negative mindset, we will have bad emotions. Okay? So, if you go through a divorce and you're anxious or depressed, which you should be, um, but you don't want to go down that road of negativity where you bury yourself in clinical depression. You start thinking through the emotion by saying, well, you know what? I did the best I could in my marriage. Or I know I didn't do the best in my marriage, but this is what I have learned, and this is what I can use the next time for the next time I am in a romantic relationship. See, you're starting to grow up, you're starting to be mature, you're starting to realize that your thoughts are what are causing you all this pain and suffering. Okay? If you're childish and you were immature and you really didn't know how to be in a relationship, you can fix that by evaluating everything you did in the marriage, everything that was wrong, and then finding the correct answer. And then teaching yourself, you know, how to live up to this ideal that you happen to believe is the kind of person you want to be and the kind of person you want to be in a romantic relationship. This is when you're using your thoughts in a positive way to recognize that you have the skills to learn and to be a better person, and there is hope for you in romance because you'll be better prepared. You can try again, and when you try again, you'll be able to succeed because now you understand where your challenges were and you understand how to overcome those challenges. That's how to think through an emotion because you're not saying, I'm useless, I'm not capable, I don't know how to do it, it's just hopeless. And no, That's the wrong way to think through an emotion. In fact, that's the way to ensure that that bad emotion continues. You got to use your ability, again, I'm going to say it again, you got to use your ability to think, organize, plan, and act. Okay? You know, some of us think that we met a person and they're a great person and they're our equal and that's the person we're supposed to be with for the rest of our lives. I can't agree with that statement. They may have been, perfect, our perfect ideal, and this is leading the conversation a totally different way. But, you can love another person just as much as you love that person. There's no, you can't be too idealistic in anything in life because you ultimately are going to cause yourself harm. Okay, so we're thinking through emotions, we're working with emotions. We want our goals to be positive emotions. We want to use our thoughts to lead us towards positive emotions. We don't want negativity to take us down the road of depression or serious anxiety where we're afraid to go out in society. Okay, so I'm reviewing my notes just to make sure I'm covering the points I want to cover. The next point I had here is we can ask ourselves if what we are feeling is a legitimate emotion. I think I've covered that more than necessary. And the next point, okay, if it is, let me highlight it here. Hopefully I'll do it completely. Okay, if it is, we accept it, allow the appropriate physical response to pain. Okay, some people won't cry. Don't know why. They were taught not to cry, but it is a healthy way to um, to move through an emotion. Okay, part of accepting it is allowing the physical response to stress to happen, not in a unhealthy manner. Okay, you don't spend your whole day in bed crying. Okay, but you do understand that this mental distress, one, is going to cause you to certain physical responses. And one of those physical responses, you're going to have low energy. And when you're trying to be a machine and just ignoring it and avoiding it, you don't want to deal with it, you're draining your energy even more. And it is acceptable, you know, when you're alone to go ahead and cry. And it is acceptable when you're alone to go ahead and rest. Because this is distressing and it is causing you some mental distress. And you want to deal with it in a healthy way. Of course, you can deal with it as life has taught you, which is to overreact and to put things in the negative, and excuse me, and to cause yourself harm. It, I gotta say that I understand there's going to be cynics. The majority of the world suffers because of their negativity, their skepticism, their cynical mindset, and it is something that you wanna you you want to make it an effort, a daily effort to keep yourself positive, optimistic, and realistic. And you want to make it a daily effort to recognize that you are equipped because you have the ability to think, organize, plan, and act. And if you honestly want a better life, you have to realize that you're the individual who's going to make this happen. Now, I was going to say, I was going to do a video about all the miserable people around us. And the reality is that there are a lot of people who are going to interfere with our efforts to develop a better spirit, to be a better person, to strive towards health, mental health, as well as physical health. And no matter how hard we try, these individuals are going to interfere, but they really don't have control. It is when we give them control that they take the control over our lives from us. We have to give it to them. because they cannot control our thoughts. And if they can't control our thoughts, they can't control our emotions and sensations, and they cannot control our behavior. The conversation is difficult because I understand what it is to keep myself optimistic and to be positive and not to spend my time hating my neighbor or ridiculing everything in a negative way. We rob ourselves of positive energy when we're spending our whole day saying police officers suck, lawyers suck, politicians suck, my neighbor sucks, that UPS driver sucks. All we're doing is burying ourselves in negative energy. See, again, one of the rules of psychology is that the more time we spend criticizing others, the less we really like ourselves. See, our focus needs to be internal. It can't be external to a certain degree because we cannot fix all these people who are causing us distress. The only person we can fix is ourselves. And we can fix ourselves if we get out of that foolish mindset that everything sucks, nothing works, why should I bother? Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that if you have had multiple failures in life, or if you have had things that you classify as multiple failures in life, you're going to have one, poor self esteem, and two, you're going to have poor confidence. But if you're the one who is thinking that these things are failures, and you're the one that is obsessing on the fact that you have failed, and if you have come to the point in time in your life where you are thinking that it is hopeless and you put yourself in a position of despair, you have to realize that you did that to yourself. And the exit is to start thinking differently, to start being more realistic about your own situation. I see homeless people every single day of my life. But even they have something. They have a place to go get food. They have a place to go get clothes. I don't know where they sleep. Some of them have a place to go and sleep. So to go around saying, I would like to have a better life, but I don't have the resources for it, it's a foolish statement. Um, I know that our culture gives us this vision, this idea of what is considered a successful life. And, you know, if we don't meet this idea, we have a tendency to believe that something has been denied to us. And we even get sad because, we just feel we don't have what we should have. But we should always be grateful for what we do have. That's part of perspective. That's part of being realistic. You may not live in a 20-room mansion, but you do have a home. And your home is what you make it. You can keep it clean and enjoy your home, or again, you can be in the negative. Let's do a 24-hour cycle, okay? Beginning at the whenever it is you wake up. You can wake up with that horrible, annoying sensation that life sucks and you just don't want to be there. Or you can start organizing your life to where you will have pleasure, where you will start enjoying yourself, whether it is through music, um, TV, conversations with friends, family members, whatever it is that's going to put you in a good spirit. Now, hopefully, if you wake up, you realize that your body needs to be fed because it doesn't work if you don't put energy in it. And you're going to have a meal. And hopefully, that meal is a healthy meal. So you're waking up, you're putting yourself in a positive frame of mind by finding things to enjoy in life, pursuing the good. And of course, I give admonitions about, drugs are not really, it's pleasurable, but it's not good. So if you're going off and finding the bad things to feel good, I'm going to tell you you're not going to succeed. If your goal is to have a healthy, peaceful, enjoyable life. So you wake up, You put yourself in a good spirit. You have a meal because you know you need to have a healthy meal. You get ready for your day. You have to be clean. And you're going to go wherever it is you're going to go. You're going to go to school. You're going to go to work. You need to go visit the girlfriend that annoys you. Whatever it is, instead of defeating yourself by the thought that this isn't going to work, you know, you first set up a little plan, and then you just knock yourself down with a defeatist attitude, saying this just isn't going to work. You know, you should set up a positive plan and then wait till you're putting your plan of action into play and see what does and doesn't work. Life is a process of evaluation. You want to accomplish a goal, that's good, but recognize you're going to confront challenges. And when you confront a challenge, again, you can drive yourself down the road of negativity, or you can put things in perspective and realize what it is you have to do to deal with the challenge. Now, the reason I'm going through this 24-hour cycle is because I want to make the point that whatever you're confronting, school environment, a work environment, interpersonal relationships, just your the people around you as you're driving, whatever it is, you control what you're thinking about it. You control if you're hating the other drivers around you. You control if you're overreacting to their behavior. They're lunatics, they're crazy people, they're trying to kill each other. Why do you have to get into the mayhem? You can have the radio station on the station that you like. I wouldn't suggest you have video. If you're going to have phone conversations, make sure you're not distracted. But you can make the driving experience a pleasant experience. You can make the educational experience a pleasant experience. You can make your work environment a pleasant experience. You can make interpersonal interactions with friends and family members a pleasant experience. You have the choice. You can choose to go to war and be in conflict, or you can have a healthy spirit, a positive spirit, be a person who doesn't, get easily riled up, and focus on the goal of enjoying your life. Now, life isn't just work and education. There's a lot to do. Once you gone through the world, you've seen the world, you've done what you had to do in the world, you bought your groceries, you did your laundry. There's got to be some downtime, but happy downtime. It was before you go to sleep. Of course, you've had your meals, your lunch, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or if you want to break it up into four independent meals, with smaller amounts. And of course, you've been drinking water and you haven't overexposed yourself to the elements. And you're not ingesting things that are literally nothing more than poison. And you're home. You woke up, you started feeling those emotions and those anxieties and those depressions, and you put them in their place, and you thought yourself into a positive spirit, and you started thinking about who it is you're going to interact with and what that relationship is going to, the dynamics of that relationship, and you started organizing your emotions and recognizing that you're going to set good goals, and your goal is to enjoy life, to have a pleasant experience, and to treat people right with respect, and to not start anything that's going to lead you down to a negative road. And oh, excuse me. Oh my. Maybe I should see a doctor about that, huh? And you also take care of personal responsibilities, like groceries and laundry and whatever it is, going to the bank. And then you come home and you evaluate your day, because life is evaluation. And you say, okay, where did I succeed? And where could I have done better? And you set some strategies and you say, well, tomorrow I'll approach it this way. And now you have time, free time. What should you do with that free time? If you're overwhelmed and you're starting to feel those emotions, well, you can relax. You can practice relaxation exercises. And you can also meditate and say, okay, what am I feeling and why am I feeling it? And am I exercising this emotion in a healthy way? Am I allowing myself the physical responses to stress? And am I allowing myself time to relax if I feel drained of energy? And am I going to spend whatever 3, 4, 5 hours I have here in my home, pursuing good things in life and enjoyable things in life, and finishing off the day in a good spirit? So, and there are people, again, I'm going to say this because I know there are people who are out there who may hear this and say, well, how foolish is this? This is simple. This is something you should have learned as a young person. You should need this. You shouldn't need this. You should already know this. Nobody should have to tell you about this stuff. But the sad reality is that many people didn't have a great, growing up experience. Many people suffered and were not treated right as children. And now as adults, they don't understand why it is they're suffering and why they have pain. And even if they have the intellectual understanding, they don't really have a sense of awareness of what it is that they can do. And if your life is great, it's that's good. Nobody's going to take that away from you. This is not an effort to try to convince happy, joyful people not to be happy and joyful. This is an effort to try to help people who don't understand how to make the best of their life, to get over those horrible emotions, to feel better. Because life is a great experience. Life is what we make it. As horrible as it is, uh, you know, this video I was gonna do, and right at the time when something great, significant happened in the American culture. And when I was developing it, I was realizing that it would be just so easy to tie it into, you know, current events. But then I realized that would be rather disrespectful of me because what happened is personal to the people who it happened to, and they deserve to be respected. And of course, when you're going to have these kind of conversations, you got to understand that there's people who may um, be overwhelmed by the conversation, that their pain and suffering is so great that they may never be able to put it in its place. And that's sad because life is out there to be enjoyed, life is out there to be had. Life is like a enjoyable fruit hanging uh, from a tree that we can reach up and get it. But some of us are just not strong enough to reach up. And I have to say that if you're overwhelmed, it doesn't have to be a permanent experience. Um, Things happened. There's no need to go into, what could have happened. Things happened. And any other person may have, been consumed by the distress. But you're continuing to fight. You're continuing to desire and wish for something better. You still pursuing life and you want to pursue life in a good way. You want to get what's good out of life. And you want to enjoy life. And you want life to be a pleasant experience. You want to enjoy the company of your friends. You want to enjoy the company of your family members. You want to laugh again. You want to laugh, you want to sing, you want to dance. You remember when you used to enjoy music. You remember when you used to look forward to a good meal. Now and then you start thinking about that friend that could just make you laugh and feel good for a very long time. But what gets you over to the other side of fully enjoying life is those tragedies that you had to experience that nobody should have experienced. And it's understandable that you would have all of this emotional residue and almost be incarcerated in your own fears, anxieties, sadness, depression, pain, suffering. But what is also understandable is that you have the ability to start taking some small steps and moving towards a direction where you will calm your own emotional volatility. Start looking at what really is good in life, realizing that you are a person who has all the necessary mental structures to pursue a good life. You have the ability to think, you have the ability to organize, you have the ability to plan, and you have the ability to act. That's why I say everybody's equipped. Doesn't matter what university you went to. Doesn't matter if you dropped out of high school. Your work experience. None of that matters. What matters is that you can organize information. You can receive and process information, put it in its place, organize it. You can use it to establish strategies of life, and then you can act. Using those skills, you can think in a positive way. You can organize your information in a positive way. You can make your plans positive. Excuse me. And you can act in a positive way. We we got the worst of it. Let's admit it. I mean, there may have been cultures that have suffered before, but we really here in our modern day culture, we got the worst of it. We were sold dreams that are really not good dreams. We're in a what's the word? We're in an economy. We're in a business environment where there is no more humanity. And we want opportunities, but business people are doing something else. And they're trying to get the super employee and pay them as little as possible. And for most of us, we just don't meet their standards. But as bad as that is, it's up to us to look at our environment and evaluate what's in our environment in a positive, optimistic, and realistic manner. And to use what is available in our environment for us to reach our goals. I understand pain and suffering very well. And I know it's not hopeless. And I know that we only harm ourselves when we walk ourselves down that road of despair. No matter what the tragedy is, we can accept the emotion and we can accept the physical responses that come with the emotion. But we can also say we need to heal and we're going to invest the time that is necessary to heal. And we're going to heal in a positive, optimistic manner, in a healthy manner. We're going to recognize that what happened, happened. And with our own thoughts, the way we see things, we can help ourselves reduce the emotional pain. The reason we repress is because it's just too painful to look at it. And what makes it painful is that we're trying to follow the messages that we have been conditioned to throughout our life. But we just realize that the world's perspective is only one perspective. We can have a perspective of health, we can have a perspective of success, we can have a perspective of setting strategies, setting goals, achieving our personal goals, and being grateful for what we were able to accomplish. We can be the individuals that build up our own self esteem. Every time we set a goal and we accomplish the goal, we gain confidence. And the more confidence we gain, the greater our self esteem is. And really, it is all related to how we think. Either we have a good attitude or we have a bad attitude. And there are healthy emotions. There aren't only the bad emotions, but there's also joy and happiness and love. I think one of the words that, has lost in our modern world is love. I think one of the saddest things in the world is that we may have great love for our neighbor, but we don't have great love for ourselves. That's not supposed to be something we're supposed to be doing. But in reality, it is something we're supposed to be doing. If we're not strong, we can't help anybody. So really, it does start with us to get ourselves out of our own funk by no longer thinking in a negative way, no longer having a bad attitude, no longer being emotionally immature. When we're willing to look at the emotion, put it in its place, and start planning, setting strategies to having better emotions. And again, the more we accomplish, the more confidence we gain, and the greater the confidence we have, the greater the self esteem we have. If we invest in foolishness, we're not going to accomplish much. Life was not supposed to be what the modern world thinks life is. You meet a person on Monday and you're having sex with them on Tuesday, and you're living with them on Wednesday. And then you realize you haven't the slightest idea who you are, and you definitely don't know who they are, and all you're doing is fighting with each other, and you're going through all these, relationships, and you're wondering, why do I keep making the same mistakes? Everything we know about marriage, courtship, dating, you know, waiting till you're married to have sex, planning a family, understanding that children are not pets. They require a lot of healthy attention, and and you shouldn't have children unless you're willing to devote the rest of your life to them. Now, I'm going to close this because I think I've covered what I wanted to cover, and I want to close it just by restating that we can become positive people, optimistic people, realistic people, by instead of investing in negative thoughts, we invest in positive thoughts. We pursue what is good in life. Our goals are to get what is good out of life. We see ourselves as good people, and maybe we see some bad behaviors in our neighbor, but we're not going to invest in any kind of overt negative energy or a negative attention on our neighbor. We're going to realize that our focus needs to be an internal focus because we can't control the people of the world. We can only control ourselves. And we're going to go forward enjoying life, fighting what is good in life and pleasant, and enjoying it. And we're going to recognize that life includes other people, includes friends, family members, excuse me, and a special romantic partner. And we have to make it an effort. We must understand that every day we have to invest in positive energy. If we don't, we're going to continue to be stuck where we are. And it's within our ability to change and to pursue a better life. And again, it's within our ability because we can think, we can act, we can think, we can organize, we can plan, and we can act. We can think about good emotions, we can organize in an optimistic way, we can have hope, and we have to make that hope have meaning by actually following through on the goals that we have set, using the objectives that we have set. And as we're planning and acting, we're evaluating and we're learning about ourselves. And what we're learning is how to pursue life in a positive way. Instead of giving up and wanting to be immature and negative, we're starting to put things in perspective, we're starting to put things in order, and we're realizing that when we meet a challenge that overwhelms us, all we do need to do is set a new strategy. And instead of beating ourselves up and robbing ourselves of our negative energy, we can invest in positive thoughts. And of course, my admonition is this is not a new religion. I would call this life science, how to live well. I'm not in competition with anybody's religious perspective. I would even go ahead and say that this will serve secular people just as well as it will serve religious people. And I use the word energy because we do have spirit. That's what I'm talking about. How do we feel? Do we feel in a good spirit or do we feel in a bad spirit? And I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover on emotions. I'm sure there will be attachments down the road and we'll continue the series. I don't know where the series will finish, but I did come to the conclusion that as long as I'm doing this, why not go ahead and teach the rules of psychology? So I'm going to start with, I believe I have two more, see where that works out in this series. And then I'm going to start with the psychology of development and growth. I have my textbook. It could be 20 years old. The information is still valuable. And try to teach people how it is we went from being a little baby that doesn't see the world in a negative perspective to being an adult with a very negative attitude. So that's the plan for the future. Thank you for listening, and I wish you well.